Chosen one. Can you feel it? That quiet ache in your chest that doesn't come from sadness, but from something sacred knocking on the door of your soul. You're not here by accident. You didn't just stumble across this video while scrolling. You were drawn here by something older than time, deeper than memory. Something inside you has been reaching, hasn't it? Searching for confirmation, for a sign, for a voice that can name the thing you've felt but couldn't put into words. And here it is, not a sermon, not a lecture, but a message meant just for you. You don't need to explain why you're tired or why you've been feeling like a stranger in your own life lately. I already know, because I've walked that same dark hallway waiting for God to speak. And when he finally did, it didn't sound like thunder. It sounded like stillness. You see, when God is sending signals, it rarely looks like what we expect. The heavens don't always crack open with divine lightning. No, sometimes his signs come as silence that grows too loud to ignore, as restlessness that won't go away, as an emotional weight that no one else sees but you carry every day. You've been sensing something shifting, something calling. You're not losing your mind. You're waking up. You're being summoned out of survival, out of shame, out of the illusion that you've been forgotten. The signs are everywhere, hidden in your memories, in your sleepless nights, in the way you've outgrown people, places, and versions of yourself. And now this message finds you, not to entertain you, but to remind you, you are the signal. Let me ask you something serious. You have a choice right now. You can click away, go back to the noise, the scrolling, the distraction, and lose the clarity your soul's been crying for. Or you can stay until the end. Stay and receive the words that were meant to confirm what your spirit already knows. And if you do, you'll walk away lighter, stronger, remembering. Chosen one, your delay is not denial. I don't care how long you've waited. I don't care how forgotten you've felt. You haven't missed your moment. You've been held for the right one. The reason your life hasn't looked like theirs is because your path isn't theirs. You weren't called to conform. You were called to awaken. That's why the job didn't work out. That's why the relationships cracked open. That's why the timing never made sense. Because God has been speaking all along, through the closed doors, through the loneliness, through the longing that nothing in this world seems to fill. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to remember. And that remembering begins right here. Now breathe. Let go of the fear that you've wasted too much time. Let go of the shame you've carried in silence. Let go of the idea that your story is too broken to be used. God doesn't make mistakes, and he didn't start with you. You've been chosen, marked by heaven, shaped by pain, refined in silence. And now you are being awakened. The signs are real. The timing is divine. The message is clear. And this is only the beginning. If you feel something stirring within you, if your spirit knows this message is yours, comment 111 or 777 below. Not for the algorithm, but as a sacred agreement between you and the voice inside you that knows the truth. And subscribe not just to this channel, but to the journey, to the unfolding, to the return of the self you buried long ago. Whenever the world gets too heavy, this space is here. Come back to rest your soul. Come back when you forget again. And if today you've remembered something sacred, then you're right where you're meant to be. Stay with me now. What comes next will change how you see everything. Tell me, chosen one, have you noticed how things have been feeling strange lately? How moments that used to bring you peace now feel hollow? How people you once felt safe with suddenly seem distant, disconnected? These shifts aren't coincidences. They're not just mood swings or phases. They're whispers, sacred signals from God. Not the loud kind, Not the kind that grabs headlines or announces itself enlightening. No, these are the quiet ones. The ones that move beneath the surface, beneath the noise. And only the sensitive hear them. Only the chosen ones feel them in their bones. You see, before God sends the storm that transforms, He sends the whisper that prepares. Before the external breakthrough comes, the internal unraveling begins. Your thoughts feel tangled. Your desires change. You lose interest in things that used to excite you. You wake up with questions that weren't there before. Why am I really here? Is this all there is? What happened to the fire I used to carry? These aren't signs of failure. These are signs of calling. Signals that you're standing at the edge of the old world you've outgrown and the new one that hasn't fully arrived yet. It's disorienting, lonely, but it's sacred. The whisper doesn't speak in language, it speaks in longing, in the way your soul aches when you're alone, in the way certain songs pierce your spirit, in the way silence suddenly feels holy instead of empty. This is how God begins His conversation, with discomfort, with inner shaking, with a sacred kind of grief for a version of you that no longer fits. That grief isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's your soul realizing that what used to hold you can't anymore. Let me show you something. Think about how you've been moving lately. The dreams you've been having, the signs you keep brushing off, the sudden urge to change your routine, the restlessness that no amount of distraction can satisfy. That's not just your imagination. That's not anxiety. That's not confusion. That's God shifting your frequency, calling your attention, repositioning your spirit. And the reason it feels so strange is because you're not meant to settle where you've been. You've been living in between what was and what's coming. The whisper is your warning. It's the gentle pull before the divine storm sweeps in to realign everything. And I know, it's scary. To lose what's familiar before you see what's next. To let go of the comfortable even when it's slowly draining you. But that's the nature of spiritual awakening. It begins with shedding, with crumbling, with silence. The world teaches you to run from discomfort, but heaven uses it to guide you. You weren't meant to stay asleep. You weren't meant to numb the ache with distraction. You were meant to listen, because the whisper is holy. Chosen one, don't ignore the nudge. Don't dismiss the still voice inside that's been trying to get your attention. Don't keep pretending the old life fits just because it's easier. Your soul knows. It's always known. And right now, that sacred whisper is calling you to remember, to return, to rise. Even if you don't know what comes next, trust that the whisper is never wasted. It always precedes the shift, always comes before the breakthrough. You're not going crazy. You're going deeper. You're not falling apart. You're falling into alignment. This season of spiritual discomfort is not punishment, it's preparation. What you're hearing, what you're sensing, is the sound of heaven leaning close, calling your name, asking you to let go of who you thought you had to be, so you can become who you were born to be. Don't wait for the noise to confirm what the silence already told you. Don't wait for the crowd to validate what your spirit already sees. Chosen ones rarely get loud signals. They get whispers, because they've been trained to hear God in stillness. And that's what this is, a sacred stillness before the storm, a holy tension before the transformation. You're not late. You're right on time, right on track, right in the middle of something holy. So stay close, stay soft, and stay open. The whisper may not come again in the same way. Listen now, follow now, trust now. The signs are speaking, and they're speaking to you. Tell me, chosen one, how many times have you looked around at the lives of others and wondered if destiny simply passed you by? You see people stepping into their purpose, walking in alignment, finding their calling. And yet, here you are, still waiting, still wandering if somehow you missed your moment. It's a painful place to be. You don't speak of it often because most people wouldn't understand. But deep down, there's this haunting question. Was I left behind by God? Did I mess up the plan? But let me speak to that part of you gently, the one that feels forgotten by destiny. You have not been overlooked. You have been hidden. There's a difference. You weren't cast aside. You were being kept, held, sheltered in the sacred womb of delay. Because God doesn't just prepare the blessing for the chosen one, He prepares the chosen one for the blessing. And that preparation happens in the dark, in the unseen, in the quiet seasons where nothing seems to move, but everything inside you is being rearranged. You're not forgotten, you're being formed. That ache you carry, that weight in your chest when you watch others rise while you remain still, is not failure. It's the friction of becoming. It's the stretching of your spirit. It's the space where the soul grows. Yes, it feels lonely. Yes, it feels late. But I need you to hear me now. Divine timing is never rushed, and you are not behind. Many of the chosen ones go through this. In fact, most of them will spend years, sometimes decades, in the wilderness of delay. It's part of the sacred process. Because if God released you before the foundation inside you was ready, the weight of your destiny would crush you. So instead, He withholds. Not to harm you, but to shape you. You don't just receive divine purpose, you become it. And that becoming takes time, painful time, but holy time. Think about how many times you've prayed, begged even, for a sign, and instead of answers you got silence. Instead of doors you got walls. That's not divine neglect, that's divine attention. He's been watching over every detail of your journey, pruning, purifying, preparing you, not for anything ordinary, but for something so sacred that it requires the delay. It requires the depth. It requires the kind of trust that can only be born in the dark. You've been walking through the slow fire, the kind that doesn't just burn the surface, but burns away false identities, false timelines, false ideas of who you thought you were supposed to be. That's why it hurts so deeply. That's why you felt lost. Not because God abandoned you, but because He's been guiding you home, one stripped illusion at a time. Let me ask you something. What if the delay wasn't about making you wait for something, but about making you become someone? What if your deepest disappointments were actually doorways? What if the reason you feel forgotten is because the version of you that was supposed to be seen isn't the version that was meant to rise? Chosen one, you are right where you're supposed to be. The silence is sacred. The delay is divine. The wilderness is not punishment, it's preparation. And when God finally releases you, it will not be into the shallow waters of approval or applause. It will be into deep waters, weighty purpose, eternal impact. That's why the delay has been so long. Because what He's doing in you is not small. So stop measuring your timing by the world's clocks. Stop comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. You are not late. You are aligned. And when it's time, truly time, you won't have to chase your purpose. It will find you. It will fit you. It will feel like home. Until then, trust the quiet. Trust the stillness. Trust the feeling of being forgotten. Because in heaven's language, that's often the first sign that you've been chosen all along. Tell me, chosen one, have you ever looked at your life and whispered, "I've wasted too much time"? Have you felt the sting of late beginnings, of lost years, of spiritual dreams that never became real? It's a quiet kind of heartbreak, the kind you carry alone. Because deep down you wonder if you missed your window, if your calling expired, if you're just too far gone, too old, too weary to begin again. But let me tell you something sacred. With God, there is no such thing as too late. You see, The world teaches you that purpose has a deadline, that spiritual rebirth has an expiration date, that if you haven't arrived by a certain age, you never will. But heaven doesn't follow human timelines. The divine doesn't rush greatness. And your soul was never meant to bloom in someone else's season. What feels like delay is often divine protection. What feels like missed opportunity is often a pause, so your spirit could realign with truth. You have not been forgotten. You have been held. This feeling you carry, the one that tells you it's too late to start over spiritually, is not coming from God. It's coming from shame, from fear, from the echo of past pain, and it's time to name it. Because the longer you believe you're too far gone, the longer you stay disconnected from the power that's always been within you. There is no soul that drifts too far for heaven's hand to reach, and there is no wound too deep that God cannot use for glory. You are not an exception to grace. You are the reason for it. Let me show you something. Some of the most powerful awakenings don't happen at the beginning. They happen at the middle. Midlife spiritual awakenings are not breakdowns. They're breakthroughs. They are the soul's way of saying, this isn't who I am. This isn't where I'm supposed to stay. And that cry you've been hearing in the silence, that ache you feel when you lie awake at night, it's not regret, it's revelation. Your soul is rising, even now. You were never meant to settle for a half-lived life. You were never meant to numb your purpose just to survive. The years behind you are not wasted. They are woven into the tapestry of who you're becoming. Every detour, every delay, every mistake, they all hold divine data. Nothing is lost. Nothing is without meaning. And the same God who authored your beginning is more than able to rewrite the rest. You might not be where you thought you'd be, but that doesn't mean you're not exactly where you're meant to be. God is the master of turning ashes into altars. And this moment right here, this sense of being lost, late, or left behind, it is the sacred doorway into your return. Not a return to who you were, but to who you truly are. The version of you that was buried beneath years of doing, performing, pleasing. The version that remembers. The version that breathes with heaven's rhythm. Chosen one, it's not too late. It's never too late. In fact, this could be the exact moment your real life begins. Not the life shaped by survival or shame, but the one shaped by surrender. The life where your spiritual fire returns. The life where you finally feel aligned. You don't need to start over with the world. You need to start over with your soul. And that can happen right now. So if you've been holding your breath, waiting for permission to begin again, this is it. If you've been looking for a sign, this is it. If you've been battling the lie that it's too late to matter, hear this truth in your spirit. You matter now. Your time is now. Your calling is not cancelled. Your spirit is not behind. It is awakening slowly, quietly, powerfully. And if you feel that in your bones, if something inside you is stirring, then don't run from it. Sit with it. Let it rise. Comment 111 or 777 below to mark this moment, this divine restart. Not just for this video, but for your life. Whenever the world gets too heavy, this space is here. Come back to rest your soul. Chosen one, when God begins to awaken something within you, He doesn't always speak in the way the world expects. You may not hear a voice from the sky. There may be no booming announcement, no angelic trumpet, but there will be signs, sacred signs, gentle, strange, undeniable signals that pierce through your ordinary days like divine fingerprints on the mundane. And if your spirit has been watching, listening, sensing, then you already know. Something's been shifting, something's been whispering, and the question now is, are you paying attention? You see, one of the first signs God is sending you is disconnection. Things you used to love suddenly feel empty. Conversations that once filled you now leave you hollow. The routines that used to comfort you now feel like cages. That's not depression, that's awakening. That's the soul saying, I can't stay here anymore. God is pulling you away from what no longer serves your growth. It may feel like you're losing everything, but in truth, you're shedding what was never really yours. Another sign, the deep inner pull toward isolation. You're not antisocial, you're being sanctified. Chosen ones often go through seasons where the noise of the world becomes unbearable, where they crave solitude, silence, space to breathe and think and feel. That's not failure, that's preparation. God is clearing the room so He can speak to you without interruption. And in that silence, He begins to rearrange you from the inside out. Tell me, have your dreams been louder lately? Vivid, symbolic, filled with strange faces or repeating places? That's not just your subconscious, that's divine communication. God often speaks through dreams because when your conscious mind is at rest, your spirit is fully open. You're not just dreaming, you're receiving. Pay attention, write them down, pray over them. These messages are not random, they're coded in meaning. And what about the numbers? The repeating patterns, the 111s, the 444s, the 777s. These sequences are not just coincidences, they're confirmations, divine markers that you're on the path, even when your eyes can't yet see where it leads. When you see those numbers, don't just glance and move on. Pause, feel, ask. They are heaven's way of saying, keep going. You're not alone. Another sacred sign is emotional intensity. Out of nowhere, you feel tears rise. You watch something simple and feel an overwhelming wave of grief or joy. That's your spirit opening. That's God softening the places that were once numb. He is making you tender again, sensitive again, aligned again. Don't fight it. Let the tears come. They are not weakness, they are worship. Sometimes the signs come as divine delays. The job you didn't get, the relationship that fell apart, the door that wouldn't open no matter how hard you knocked. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. God knows where each path leads. And when He blocks one, it's not because He's punishing you, it's because He's protecting you. He sees what you cannot. Trust the detour. Then there are the people, those who suddenly exit, those who enter your life with divine timing. God moves through human vessels. Pay attention to the ones who speak to your soul without knowing your story. The ones who echo what you've been praying in secret. The ones who feel like reminders more than introductions. These are not accidents. These are alignments. And perhaps the most mysterious sign of all, an unexplainable sense of knowing, a feeling that something is about to shift, that your life is on the edge of something sacred. You can't describe it, but it lives in your belly like fire. That's not anxiety. That's the call. That's destiny stirring. That's the Spirit saying, get ready. So if you've been experiencing these things, don't doubt them. Don't dismiss them. Don't wait for permission to believe. The signs are real. The signals are divine. God is speaking. And you, chosen one, are listening. That alone makes you different. That alone means you're already walking the path, even when it feels like standing still. If this speaks to you, if these signs are already unfolding in your life, comment 777 or 111 below. Mark it, remember it. Let your spirit agree with what it already knows. And subscribe, not for more content, but for more clarity. This space isn't just a channel, it's a sanctuary, a place to come back to when you forget again. Whenever the world gets too heavy, this space is here. Come back to rest your soul. You see, chosen one, emotional pain isn't always a wound. Sometimes it's a whisper. Sometimes it's the only language God can use when your soul won't sit still long enough to listen. And that ache you've been carrying, the one that doesn't seem to have a clear reason or solution, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sacred signal, a holy interruption. Pain doesn't show up to break you. It shows up to break through the illusions, to wake you up, to turn your attention inward to the places you've neglected, buried, or forgotten. You've been told to avoid pain, to medicate it, ignore it, rush past it. But what if I told you pain is often the first messenger of transformation? What if I told you that your emotional pain isn't there to destroy you, but to open you to truth, to healing, to God? You've been asking for a sign, and all this time your pain has been answering. That tightness in your chest, the tears that come without warning, the heaviness that greets you in the morning, that is divine communication. That is God pulling you closer. Chosen ones don't just feel pain, they feel it deeply. You've noticed this, haven't you? How you seem to carry the emotions of the room, how you cry for others, how you feel invisible wounds that others ignore. That's not a flaw. That's part of your design. You've been given a sensitive spirit because you were never meant to sleep through life. You were meant to feel your way through it. That sensitivity is a sign of your calling, of your connection, of your sacred assignment. But emotional pain doesn't just reveal your gift, it also reveals your growth. Pain shows you where healing is needed, where your spirit is misaligned, where your past still holds power over your present. It invites you to go deeper, not further, to slow down, to ask, what is this teaching me? What is this asking of me? You don't need to fear your pain. You need to face it. Let it speak. Let it guide. Let it heal. Tell me, what have you been trying to outrun? What feeling have you been suppressing because you thought it would drown you? The truth is, it's not here to harm you. It's here to show you something sacred. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every silent cry was recorded by heaven. Nothing has been wasted, not your tears, not your trauma, not even your shame, especially not your shame. Because here's the thing, God often hides your healing inside your pain. He doesn't wrap it in comfort, He wraps it in questions, in surrender, in the holy breaking that leads to sacred rebuilding. That's why this season has felt so heavy. You're not being punished, you're being purified. And the fire isn't to burn you, it's to burn away everything that doesn't belong. You're not alone in this. So many chosen ones feel the weight of emotional pain and think something is wrong with them. But you're not broken, you're breaking open. And in that breaking, God is making space. Space for new awareness, space for divine identity, space for light to get in. You've been taught to see pain as the end, but spiritually, it's often the beginning. When Jesus healed, He didn't bypass pain. He entered into it, sat with it, asked questions, spoke to it directly. And if healing came through facing pain, then why would it be any different now? Your pain isn't a curse, it's a key. And the moment you stop fighting it is the moment you begin hearing it. And when you begin hearing it, you'll find God has been speaking through it all along. So if you've been crying in secret, aching in silence, and wondering if anyone sees you, know this, God does. And not only does He see you, He's with you in it. The pain you've been feeling is not a sign you're off track. It's proof that you're on sacred ground, that your soul is alive, that healing is near. Comment 111 or 777 below if you feel this truth cracking something open inside of you. You're not alone in your pain. You're part of a quiet tribe of souls who feel deeply, love fiercely, and rise slowly but powerfully. Subscribe if this feels like your home. This space isn't about avoiding pain. It's about walking through it together. Let this be your sanctuary. Whenever the world gets too heavy, this space is here. Come back to rest your soul. Chosen one, let's talk about the shift you've been feeling, the one you can't explain, but can't ignore either. It doesn't come with fireworks. It doesn't come with applause. It arrives quietly, slowly, like fog rolling in over a life you once recognized. This is what they call a midlife spiritual awakening. But don't let the word midlife fool you. This isn't about age, it's about awareness. This is the moment when your soul refuses to keep pretending, when the life you built out of survival can no longer hold the truth of who you really are. It often begins with discomfort. You look around and nothing feels like home anymore. The job that once made you proud now feels like a prison. The relationships that used to keep you company now feel like noise. You may even wake up and wonder, whose life am I living? That question isn't a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. It means your soul has decided it's time to come forward. It's time to stop hiding behind roles, routines, and responsibilities that no longer reflect your truth. This kind of awakening is sacred, but it's not easy, because in order to remember who you are, you have to unlearn who you've been. You have to let go of the masks, the expectations, the belief that your worth comes from what you do rather than who you are. That unraveling can feel like loss. It can feel like death. But it's not the end of you. It's the beginning of you. The real you. The one that's been buried under years of performance, pleasing, and pretending. Tell me, have you been feeling it? The urge to simplify, to slow down, to be alone more often, not because you're lonely, but because solitude has become your sanctuary. That's not isolation. That's realignment. God is calling you back to yourself, back to what matters, back to what's eternal. And it's in this tender space of awakening that you begin to see the divine in everything, in your pain, your silence, your sensitivity. You stop needing to be busy and start craving meaning. That's not a midlife crisis. That's spiritual maturity. You see, awakening at this point in life is powerful because you've lived enough to know what doesn't work. You've tried to fit in. You've tried to force things. You've followed the rules. And now, you're ready to be real. You're ready to listen to your soul, not society. You're ready to ask different questions, not what should I do, but who am I becoming? Not how do I get ahead, but how do I get aligned? This shift is not punishment. It's permission. It's God saying, you're ready now. You've learned the lessons. You've survived the storms. And now you're strong enough to walk in your truth. Don't be afraid of the changes. They're not pulling you away from your life. They're pulling you toward your life, the one you were always meant to live. And no, it's not too late. In fact, this is the perfect time, because now you have the wisdom to hold your purpose with care. Now you understand that sacred things take time. Now you don't need the approval of others to feel whole. Your awakening isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you've always been beneath the noise. Chosen one, this divine shift you're feeling is holy. It may be quiet, but it's not small. It may be invisible to others, but it's undeniable to you. Trust it. Trust the pull. Trust the path, even when it's unclear. Because what's awakening inside you now isn't just for you. It's for everyone you'll touch when you rise. If you feel this shift in your spirit, if you know this season is more than just transition, it's transformation. Comment 777 or 111 below. Claim it. Let heaven see your agreement. Let your soul witness itself in the light. Subscribe if this space speaks to what you've been feeling. We walk this path together. This is not a channel. This is a return, a remembering, a rising. Whenever the world gets too heavy, this space is here. Come back to rest your soul. Chosen one, shame is one of the oldest prisons we carry. And the chains it wraps around your spirit are often forged in silence. You may not even speak of the thing that still haunts you, the mistake, the moment, the season of your life you try to erase in your mind, hoping no one ever brings it up. But shame doesn't need words to live. It survives in secrecy. And yet here you are, still chosen, still seen by God, still called. Which means what shamed you didn't disqualify you. It was never the end of your story. It was the place where your redemption began. You see, shame tells you that your past has power over your future, that because you once lived outside of alignment, you're no longer worthy of divine assignments. But God doesn't see it that way. God doesn't waste your story. He redeems it. And the pain you thought would forever define you is the very pain He plans to use to awaken others. You didn't survive that season by accident. You were preserved for purpose. But before you can walk in that, you must be willing to face the shame and strip it of its voice. Let me show you how shame disguises itself. It doesn't always show up as guilt. Sometimes it shows up as perfectionism, as the need to prove yourself, as the silent belief that if you just work harder, serve more, love better, then maybe, just maybe, you'll be enough. But you already are enough. Not because of what you've done, but because of who made you. The God who chose you did so with full knowledge of your past. Nothing is hidden from Him. And still, He calls you. Tell me, have you been walking around with a spiritual limp, trying to smile over a scar that never healed? That scar isn't shameful. It's sacred. It means you've been through the fire, and you made it. It means you've wrestled with your shadow and lived to tell the truth. And that truth is this: you are not what happened to you. You are not the version of yourself that broke down. You are not the person you had to be to survive. You are who you chose to become when the storm passed. And that version, the one that rises from the ashes, is the one God will use. The enemy loves to weaponize your memory, to make you replay the moments of weakness. But God rewrites your memory through mercy. He doesn't erase the past. He sanctifies it. He turns your regret into revelation, your wounds into wisdom, your history into healing, for yourself and for others. That's the beauty of grace. It takes what once made you hide and uses it to make you shine. Shame keeps you stuck in the lie that you're too far gone, but that lie falls apart in the presence of love. Real love, divine love, says, I saw it all, and I still choose you. That's the love that restores. That's the love that breaks the chains. And that's the love that's being offered to you right now. So what do you do with the shame? You stop agreeing with it. You stop letting it define your worth. You stop letting it silence your voice. And you start walking in the light of truth, the light of freedom, the light of knowing that the very things you thought disqualified you are now the things that will deepen your ministry, your purpose, your empathy. Chosen ones are never chosen because they are perfect. They are chosen because they are willing to be transformed. If something in this message is loosening the grip shame has had on your soul, if you feel like maybe you're ready to stop hiding from your own story, then comment 111 or 777 below. Let the agreement begin in your spirit first and let it echo in your life. You are not what you did. You are not who you were. You are who God says you are, and you are His. Subscribe to this space if it feels like sanctuary. We are walking back home together, back to truth, back to healing, back to the holy light of being fully known and still fully loved. Whenever the world gets too heavy, this space is here. Come back to rest your soul. Tell me, chosen one, haven't you always felt a little different? Like you didn't quite belong in the places everyone else seemed comfortable in? Like you could see through things that others accepted without question? That wasn't your imagination. That was your spirit remembering. You weren't born to fit in. You were born to wake up. And more than that, you were chosen. Not because you were better, but because you were willing. Willing to feel more deeply, willing to break open, willing to let your pain become a portal to something higher. Being chosen by God doesn't mean your life has been easier. In fact, it often means the opposite. It means your path has been narrow, your pain has been deep, your questions have been relentless. But that's because God marked you for something sacred. And before He gives revelation, He often gives resistance. Before He sends you, He sets you apart. Before He releases you, He refines you. And yes, it hurts. But that pain has been proof, not punishment. Because those who are chosen are also carved. You see, many are called, but few say yes with their lives. Few say yes in their wilderness. Few say yes when everything around them looks like delay and disappointment. But you're still here, watching, listening, breathing, holding on, even if by a thread. That's not weakness, that's obedience, that's surrender. And God sees it. He sees every moment you could have quit but didn't. Every prayer you whispered through clenched teeth. Every time you kept loving, even when your heart was breaking. That is the evidence of the calling. That is the mark of the chosen. You weren't chosen to be perfect. You were chosen to be real, raw, open, willing to walk through fire if it meant becoming who you truly are, willing to be misunderstood, willing to look foolish, willing to leave the crowd and take the quiet road. And if you've done that, if you've chosen alignment over applause, then you're already walking in your assignment, even if you don't have the full picture yet. Let me show you something. The chosen ones are often hidden before they're revealed. They go through long seasons of obscurity, not because God has forgotten them, but because He's building a foundation that can't be shaken. A character that can carry the weight of destiny. A heart that can hear His whisper, even when the world gets loud. You've been in that season. And though it's been lonely, it's been holy. Being chosen doesn't mean you won't feel fear. It means you move anyway. It means you trust the nudge even when it makes no sense. It means you follow peace more than logic. You begin to recognize that the world's rewards will never satisfy the call on your life. And that's why you've started walking away from what used to define you. That's why your old dreams no longer inspire you. Because your spirit is waking up to something greater, something eternal. And I need you to hear this. The fact that you're still sensitive after everything you've been through, that you still want to heal, still want to love, still want to rise, that's not weakness. That's sacred resilience. That's the fingerprint of heaven on your life. That's how you know you were chosen, not by men, not by systems, but by the divine. So if you've ever wondered why your life has felt so intense, why your process has felt so long, why your growth has felt so quiet, it's because you were never meant to take the shallow path. You were meant to go deep, and deep always takes time. But it's worth it. Because when God sends you, when He reveals what He's been forming in the secret places of your heart, it won't just bless you, it'll set others free. Comment 111 or 777 below if your spirit knows you've been chosen. Let it be a moment of remembrance. Let it be a sacred agreement between you and the truth that has always been yours. Subscribe if this space feels like your soul's echo. We are rising together, slowly, strongly, silently. Whenever the world gets too heavy, this space is here. Come back to rest your soul. Chosen one, this is where everything shifts. This is the moment where your story bends, where the old cycle of just surviving finally gives way to sacred alignment. And I know you've spent so much of your life holding it together, quietly, bravely. You've carried burdens no one else could see, made peace with pain that was never fair, and learned how to walk through fire without making a sound. But you were never meant to stay in survival mode. You were meant to rise. And now that rising has begun, not by force, but by divine design. Survival taught you how to protect yourself, but alignment teaches you how to become yourself. And becoming isn't about striving. It's about surrender. It's about laying down the masks, the exhaustion, the false timelines, and picking up truth. The truth of who you really are, who you've always been, who God knew before you ever forgot. Let me ask you something. Aren't you tired of pretending you're okay just to keep others comfortable? Aren't you tired of building a life that looks good on the outside but feels hollow on the inside? That fatigue, that inner exhaustion, isn't weakness. It's your soul asking for something real. That's what alignment feels like. It feels like truth, pulling on the bones of your life, asking you to stop performing and start living. The shift from survival to alignment doesn't happen overnight. It begins slowly, subtly, a longing for more, a refusal to keep betraying your spirit, a deep awareness that you were made for something greater than just making it through. You start to realize that success without peace isn't success, that relationships without depth aren't love, that movement without purpose isn't growth. And when that realization takes hold, something breaks open. That's when God begins to show you the difference between what you built and what you were born for. Survival taught you to say yes when you meant no, to smile through pain, to adapt even when it cost your identity. But now, alignment is teaching you to speak, to feel, to remember. It's reminding you that your voice matters, your soul matters, your boundaries are holy, and your presence is powerful, not because you prove it, but because you embody it. This is the turning point, the sacred threshold, the space between who you were and who you're becoming. You may feel the old life pulling at you, people expecting you to stay small, roles asking you to shrink, memories tempting you to go back. But you're not that person anymore. The shift inside you is real, and once you awaken, you cannot unknow what you now see. You can't fake it, you can't settle, you can't unfeel the truth that your spirit has revealed. And I know it's scary. Letting go always is. Alignment doesn't promise comfort, it promises clarity. It strips away what you no longer need, so that what's eternal can rise. It's not a punishment, it's purification. You are being returned to yourself, to God, to your original blueprint, and that journey is worth every loss, every tear, every moment of confusion. The world will not understand this transformation. It's quiet, it's internal, but that doesn't make it any less holy. In fact, that's what makes it real. When you stop living to be seen and start living to be aligned, everything changes. You no longer seek validation, you live from knowing. You no longer chase purpose, you walk in presence. You no longer strive, you surrender. And in that surrender you find freedom. If this speaks to you, if you know in your bones that you're done surviving and ready to align, comment 777 or 111 below. Let this be your turning point, your sacred agreement with the truth you already feel rising inside. Subscribe if this space feels like home. If this message feels like a mirror, you're not alone in this shift. We're walking it together, toward the light, toward the truth, toward ourselves. Whenever the world gets too heavy, this space is here. Come back to rest your soul. Chosen one, if you've made it here, it means your soul stayed present through every word, every whisper, every divine reminder. That wasn't just attention, that was agreement. A sacred yes between you and the voice within you that's been quietly awakening. This moment right now, it's not the end of a video. It's the return of your soul to itself, a return to trust, a return to clarity, a return to the God who never left, even in the silence. You've walked through memories, through pain, through shame, through signs, and still you're standing. That is not weakness, that is divine proof. You are not forgotten, you are not late, you are not broken, you are becoming. Slowly, yes. Quietly, yes, but powerfully. And as you go forward from here, carry this with you. You are no longer walking blindly. The signs are alive, the calling is real, you were chosen. And because of that, heaven will not let you go back to sleep. Your life may still be unfolding, but now your spirit knows this isn't the end. This is the rising. If you feel this truth in your chest, if your spirit has remembered even one piece of itself today, comment 777 or 1111 below. Not for the algorithm, but to mark the moment you turned inward and said, yes, I know who I am. And subscribe if you haven't yet, because this space isn't just for watching. It's for coming home. It's for breathing again. Whenever the world gets too heavy, this space is here. Come back to rest your soul. We rise together, slowly, softly, steadily. And next time you see the signs, you'll know.